me why. I just went on told her. She asked me why. I just went on told her. She asked me why. I just went on told her. She asked me why. I just went on told her.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Owl's Nest BBQ Show, coming to you live from the Owl's Nest Studios, high above White Oak Mountain in the beautiful valley of Ooltewah, Tennessee. We're brought to you by Butcher Barbecue Products and the complete line of Butcher Barbecue Products, injections, sauces, grilling oils, and supplies. We're also brought to you by the most popular drum smoker in the United States, the Pit Barrel Cooker. Stop by Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply. It's my place. And you can see how easy the Pit Barrel Cooker is to use and how affordable it really is. And we're also brought to you by Michelin Tires. They're also available at Steve Ray's Midnight Oil in Ooltewah. Don't you pay too much for your tires. Get them at my place, Steve Ray's Midnight Oil in Ooltewah. Man, we've got a great show lined up for you tonight. A great show lined up for you tonight. There's my buddy right behind me. I'm just going to leave him sit there for just a second. Hey, you know, last week I told you about the blue and gray barbecue cook-off that was coming up in September, and I told you the 15th. It's the 14th. That's a Saturday. 15th to Sunday. September the 14th. Make your plans now. Make your family aware of this because it's a great place to come and hang out all day. It's kind of a celebration of the Gordon Lee Mansion. The mansion will be open for tours. It's actually on the front lawn of the mansion, and you can come down there and go to the springs that are across the street. And you'll have all kinds of barbecue teams there, and it's a lot of fun. So mark your calendars for September the 14th. Okay, don't forget, September the 14th. Now, we've got a special guest with us today. This person penned an essay this week on Facebook, and you could tell, and it wasn't a complaining essay. It wasn't a whiny essay. It was more of a question essay. And I'm going to bring Russ in right now. Russ, how you doing?
Hey, Steve, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us from over there in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. Russ, let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever been to the dog biscuit store in Mount Juliet, Tennessee?
I have been to a dog biscuit store and the one you're talking about. Absolutely.
I've never been there, but I guess you know who Nate Bargatze is, don't you?
No, I don't.
The comedian?
I'm terrible on names.
Well, he's a comedian,
Okay, yeah.
And he's been to that store. He lives close to you. And he's very
All right.
funny. He's a very funny human being. He talks about that store. But isn't it funny that somebody would be talking about a dog biscuit store in Mount Juliet, Tennessee?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't chew on many bones, but every once in a while I need a biscuit. So
now,
try it out.
Everybody watching and listening, if you're looking at Russ, you're going, you know, that guy looks familiar to me. Let me tell you, Russ was on Barbecue Pitmaster. I think it was, 3 episodes, wasn't it, Russ?
I was fortunate to be with somebody that was on for it. Yeah, 3 times.
You're with John Kuhn. Y'all cooked as what was the name of your team on the show?
House of Q.
House of Q. And Russ, everybody, uttered the most funniest line in the barbecue all-star season when Robbie Royal and John were going at it back and forth, and you could tell that Robbie was getting under John and Russ's skin. The camera focused right in on Russ, and he was leaning. Looked like you were leaning in a corner or something, looking at him and peering at him. You know, sort of one of these deals, Russ. And you said, if I had a bucket of water, I'd throw it on him. Thought I'd come out off the couch when you said that. Because, you know, everybody else in America was thinking the same thing. But
he did. He got under our skin, and you know, that's the element of throwing your competition off their game, and he did. He really did.
Well, Robbie's a great guy. He's been on the show a couple of times, and he's always a hoot to have here. He's always very gracious, and he always has nothing but fun things to say about his time on Pitmasters, and we're really happy that you're joining us. Now, Russ, we're gonna get into this. What we're gonna be talking about, folks, and we're not gonna be whining, and we're not criticizing, and we're not going after anybody tonight. Okay, this is gonna be a discussion between Russ and I, and if you want to join in on Facebook, please do. We're going to be talking about the proteins that are turned in at barbecue contests, and if they've gone over the top a little bit. And Russ kind of addressed this. Russ, I'm going to read this real quick. Now, Russ Lannom wrote this the other night. He says, headed back from Leeburn, Kentucky, the contest there this evening, and had a lot of time to think. Barbecue up, finished in the middle of the pack again. Two things come to mind during my 4.5-hour trip back. The first being, what has happened to chicken tasting like chicken, pork tasting like pork, and brisket tasting like brisket? We are only fooling ourselves to think the judges know that what these proteins really taste like. And then he said, before I take 2 weeks off and quit this thing, I think I'll give it one more try and load all the meats up with every MSG, preservative, injection, fake flavor, and rub I can and see what happens. And Russ, you know, you really hit a core with me when I was reading that. Because number one, usually people complain about the judges. They don't know this, they don't know that. They have all kinds of complaints. But what I liked about this essay that you wrote, well, I think you're kind of not questioning, but you know, are we at a place in competition barbecue? Do you think that this flavor profile has turned everything into jelly bean protein?
You know, I think, Steve, the comment should start by, how did I learn? Where did I learn? And why did I get attached to this sport? Well, I learned under John Kuhn. My first competition, I was a beginner, wanted to try it, and the organizer put me beside John. John had 3 firsts and a 4th, and just blew everybody away in this inaugural event. And I said, well, this is the guy I want to learn from.
Absolutely.
I not only had the opportunity to learn from him, he asked me to come and cook because his partner wasn't working out or had to move on. And so I cooked with John for 7 years. John, before that point, now this is where you got to understand my mindset. John had won 17, 18 grand championships, and here I come along. For 7 years, we got so close. We changed. We manipulated. We followed the trends. We shigged. And by the way, he taught me how to shig very well. But I learned from a guy that was old school, basic, make meat taste like meat. Well, John got out of it, and that's the story there. He was following his career and love him to death, and we talk every week. I picked it up, and I ran with it. For 3 years, I've been trying everything everybody said, but I've never come across the thought in my mind to go back to the basics on a full scale and ride it out. Because when I try it, every time, all I hear is the meat is bland, has no flavor, has no taste. So I pay thousands of dollars, go to everybody's school and find out what they're doing and try to incorporate it. And really, I'm fooling myself to think meat just doesn't taste like meat anymore.
No, and that begs the question, Russ. Have we as competitors, and you know, the judges can only taste what we give them. They don't dictate what the food is. They can only taste what we put in those boxes. Have we turned this thing into and we can say it, just a sauce contest, an injection and a sauce contest? The heck with the meat.
Well, let me quote a comment, and I'll give you some history behind that post. It was not meant for any attention. It was not meant to go after anybody. It was a question to myself that hopefully, Steve, tonight you'll answer. But I got hundreds of emails, hundreds of phone calls.
Yes, you did.
Two of them stuck out, and they were both from judges. One was judges need to cook and cooks need to judge. The other one was to directly respond to my comment about the judges were instructed to, I don't know how it was said, but to overlook or underlook or taste through the sauce and only judge the flavor of the meat. I don't know how you ever do that.
Yeah, how would you do that?
You know what? I think it's this, and this is the funny side of the whole thing. It is barbecue flavored jelly beans. I mean, we had some in the office the other day, taste like popcorn. I'm like, I'm never buying popcorn at the theater anymore. I'll take these popcorn flavored jelly beans. That's what, in my mind, and this is Russ, I'm not speaking for anybody, but it's not a meat contest. It's a sauce injection or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree. And the comments that you were getting, I was really, and of course the thread became real long, and it was a good thread because it didn't bash KCBS rules, it didn't bash the judges. It was simply a good discussion on where we hit, and I think it's the competition, Russ. I know the schools that I went to, I was amazed at the last one I went to, of all the sweetness that's used in this person's barbecue, and of course I've tried to replicate it down to the ounce of this sauce and this sauce, and putting honey on it and making it as sweet. And some people say that the judges are they're like me. They're so old they don't have taste buds anymore, and you have to put that sweet stuff on it because that's the only thing that we can taste as we get older. I don't agree with that, but it has gotten so bad that where we're having ribs turned in with cinnamon. Have you seen that? With cinnamon.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
No, it's out there, and it's winning. And it is won with cinnamon sprinkled on it. A cinnamon-flavored rib. Now, when was the last time you ever went to up here in Couch's Barbecue, wherever your Peg Legs over close to where you live in Mount Juliet or whatever, Martin's? When did you ever have cinnamon on pork? Ever?
I've never. I mean, absolutely doesn't blend with that. And to go back to what you said about a candy contest, and this is something I think we can talk about very in depth, have we presented a product, all of us, that tastes so much alike that they have to judge what we're giving them and find the best of that product instead of, I would say if we had three teams that did it old school, conventional style barbecue with just salt and pepper and onion and put it against three of the contemporary, what I call barbecue teams, how would those judges look if they got 3 and 3?
Right. And, we're not saying, and I know the first thing that comes out of a lot of people's heads and their issues are, well, if you don't like it, don't cook. And get that. We get that. We get that. But we want to cook. And we're not throwing it in. We're not giving up. What the only thing that we're discussing here is that I think it's time to go back to make it more of a real, true barbecue contest. And Russ, you've been doing this a lot longer than I have. Was it always like this? Did we always?
Absolutely not.
How did it used to be done? Like chicken.
How did we
morph chicken into bread loaves that aren't even barbecue, that are cooked over basically a grill in butter and boiled, steamed?
Well, I'll tell you this, and this is the only time that I'll ever brag on our success as House of Q, but we were in the top running 4 or 5 years in a row in chicken, and John and I had chicken down to an art, and it was simply trim a rub and put it on a Weber grill and cook it to the hottest temperature you could without it deforming itself, and then I guess thinning down a good typical sauce of Blues Hog or whatever. John, I'm giving away the secrets. He'll call me shortly. But thinning down the sauce and dunking it and turning it in. And we were dominating in chicken there for a long time, but we couldn't get over the next few humps that were slowly changing. Ribs tasting like, I don't know what jelly beans. I don't know what it is. So
Well, candy apples. They've got the same sheen as candy apples. And what's so confusing is when you go to a restaurant, the ribs don't look like anything like we turn in. Chicken sure doesn't. One of the most interesting things I heard about chicken was last night on the Backyard Smokers Barbecue Facebook page. Leanne Whippet made a guest appearance. She did one of those Facebook Live things. I'm sure you've seen them before.
yeah,
And she was talking about tomorrow night's premiere of Barbecue Brawl, Bobby Flay versus Michael Simon, and she's on that. And she got into a little bit about cooking barbecue, and she what got my attention was she started talking about the same exact thing that we're talking about, especially chicken. And she said the next time out, she said she's going to start competing again. And she said the next time out, she is going to take a whole chicken and cut it up and put it in that box for the judges to judge. Now, if you're sitting there at the judges table, you're one of the six, and here come the boxes come rolling in, and all of a sudden you got little pillow thigh, you've got chicken legs that look like baseball players' uniforms because they you know how they pull that skin all the way down to the ankle of the chicken, and it looks like a baseball player, and because chickens don't they don't look like that. They've got skin between their toes and their feathers. You can see the skin, and they manipulate that skin somehow. And I don't know where that came from. But now, how do you think that'll be received by the judges? Because number one, we know she can cook, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she can cook anything. She's good.
Well, next time you rent a car from one of the rental car places at the airport, and you go out and you see a 1972 Pinto that's got 3 tires up and 1 flat, are you going to choose that old school car that you don't know where it's going? Or are you going to choose that contemporary Corvette or SUV or whatever? I think what we've done is the judges know the old school type stuff, but they're used to the new. I don't know. I've always been told this: keep your enemies close and your friends at a distance. When you're shigging, you keep your winners close and your friends that are shigging off you at a distance.
Mm-hmm.
So, saying that, I know a lot of people's taste and their profiles, and I know a lot of winners. I know I've been to schools of the winners. I get it. I know that you have to change. I get it. But here's the problem I have. When you bring a product home that most people don't care to eat, and they know their friend next door will buy it because it's the best thing and the most unique thing they've ever had. They didn't get it at Famous Dave's, or they didn't get it at Witt's Barbecue or wherever. They get this flavor they've never tasted. They think the best thing they get. I could make a living selling all of my leftovers to family and friends and church members because they've never had this before. And it's going to wear on them after a time because the flavors and what we put in it, I just can't eat it. I can't come home and eat it 3 nights a week knowing I have these leftovers. That's what blows me away.
You can't eat a lot of it because it's all made for one bite. And you talk with any team that has success out there, they say, do you do your barbecue like this at home? No, heck no.
No.
No. Then I don't. Most of them don't even eat barbecue anymore because they're so. They're so tired. They eat it so much at contests. They're tired of eating it. But
Steve,
they don't.
We're going to have the naysayers.
Oh yeah, but that's okay. That's all right. We're not here to bash anybody, and we're not bashing anybody. It's what I would like to see is a return, and I don't know how you would do it, John, but a return to I know in some contests that I was reading where they changed the turning times. Say, all right, brisket goes first, and that kind of shakes everybody up. That gets them out of their comfort zone, and I like that. I like that because I think it gives people like me a better chance when you get the professionals out of their comfort zone, and
Mm-hmm.
you hope they might slip up, and you might have a miracle and pull off the greatest brisket you've ever pulled off, and you can be competitive. But even at brisket, when I make a brisket here at home for my friends, I can always cook it Texas style, fat side up, salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic, and that's about it. And you cook it, I do wrap it, but when I slice into it, you can taste beef. It doesn't taste like pot roast, and that's what we get a lot at contests, is a pot roast that everybody's turning in as a brisket, and it doesn't taste like a brisket.
Well, let me say this. I come from a marketing background, and I'm going to go a little deeper with your comments about these flavor profiles. Why do the competition food sports not have really big restaurant food type sponsorships? Because you cannot duplicate the products that we're doing in these competitions in a restaurant, because one, they can't afford to do it. They can't afford to buy the injections that are good injections for their reasons. They can't afford to cook in the process. They can't afford to do what we do when you're serving the masses. So one, we're missing out on the food industry even paying close attention to us, because we're not serving a food they'll serve in their restaurants. The majority of Americans go for a good product that's cooked, that has a good flavor, that they can enjoy at a good price. Our products are not that. We're competing for the grand prize and to go somewhere and to do something, be recognized. Everybody wants that moment. I still want it. I'll tell you right now, I have not accomplished a grand championship yet. And my winning spirit and my aggressive nature to do so, I won't quit until I get that. When I do, I may be John Wayne and ride into the sunset. But I think the process and the comments that I made in that post were about me. I pulled up my big girl panties and I've tried to figure it out, and I've talked to some people, but the comments I had, all but a few of them agreed that we are fooling ourselves to think that these products taste like they should. Where did it go? I want to know.
Well, everybody gets concerned about the downturn, I guess, so to speak, in competition barbecue. Of course, it could not possibly have held the ambitious schedule it was on at the height of barbecue pitmasters, when everybody in the nation was showing up to cook barbecue contests. But we've had such a downturn in number of teams, and I think a lot of it, Russ, is out of frustration, because people they try to cook, like, they go to the schools and they try to cook, but it's just so you're sitting in your trailer and you're injecting these things, and you're thinking, gosh, am I got enough injection in it? You ask yourself, do I have enough injection in it? And then when you cook it at home, you don't even consider injecting it. And then do you have enough honey on it? Do I have enough butter on it? It's like you're baking a cake. It's like you're baking a pork butt cake. You're not making a pork butt. You're making a pork butt cake.
Exactly. I mean, you're nailing it on the head. And like you said, we're not after anybody. We're just looking for some answers and getting back to reality. These cooking shows did more for competition barbecue than you can ever imagine. They've slowly gone away. All of these reruns happen all day Saturday. If I want to see myself and John, I cut on the TV and watch Barbecue Pitmasters on Saturday. You still have millions of Americans looking at that and going out and trying their hands. But what they're finding is when they go to these competitions, they don't have a chance. They can't use the basic stuff. And, one or two dead last, and they're out of this sport. What's happening is you're losing teams, because I don't know that the fairness statement is correct, but you're losing teams because what they tried last week and what they had to do didn't get them this week or the next week, and the competitions are dropping. So you're losing teams and competitions. All of a sudden, I look in 3 years, you're going to go back and one competition is going to have 70 or 80 teams because there's nowhere to compete. You better have one of these flavor profiles that those 70 or 80 judges know, or you're wasting your money.
Yeah. Hey, Russ, hang on a minute. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what we can do to maybe change the course. But first, I want to tell everybody about Butcher Barbecue. There's my lovely daughter, Emma. Butcher Barbecue, Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply in Ooltewah is the home of all the products from Butcher Barbecue: rubs, sauces, injections, grilling oil, and the world-famous 1995 instant read thermometer that Emma was holding up. All of the Butcher Barbecue products were born out of competition barbecue and incorporated into the lifestyle of the backyard barbecuer. World Championship flavor from every rub, sauce, injection, and grilling oil sold and packaged by Butcher Barbecue. Go for the flavor that won the Jack Daniels World Championship in 2018. Butcher Barbecue products. Thank you, Emma, for doing that for us very much. So here we are. We're turning in all the jelly beans. And Russ, what do we do? Do we do a contest? You know, everybody's always talking about how are we going to make this interesting? You know, from everything from getting the cooks out of the trailers, changing in turn-in times, making it fan-friendly. Nothing seems, nothing on a wide scale memorandum has been issued saying, from any of the governing bodies that I know that says, all right, we're going to start doing this different. We're going to really become fan-friendly. We're going to really incorporate this into the fabric of the United States of America. Do we do this? Do we say, okay, in this contest, brisket, ribs, pork butt, you're on your own, whatever you want to do. But chicken, you're going to cook a whole chicken, and you got to turn in white, dark meat, breast, a wing, a leg. You got to dissect that chicken and put it in that box. Is that something that might make this a little more interesting for people?
I don't think so. I think you're categorizing one meat, one protein that could get you. Let's say if you're in the middle of the pack and you have one standout, it's still not going to get you to a competitive level of being a grand champion. If you go back to the basics and you equal the playing field with a sponsorship like you have a Butcher's or whoever that says you can only use these products, and everybody's on the same playing field and everybody gets a shot to show their cooking skills. That's what we're in. We're in a cooking competition. We're not in who can mix the mad scientist formula and blow the other guy away. If that's the case, you're going to see, hemp and everything else starting to come into play in meats. You just, if you inject it with hemp and everybody don't care what it tastes like because they feel good after the first bite. What kind of competition is that?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's being funny.
I know.
Yeah, but the thing is, you've got to equal the playing field. And it's not to take anything away from anybody, but let's see what your cooking skills are. I know a lot of people, and I know the Mark Lamberts of the world, Travis Clarks. I know, the Smoke Me Sillies and the Jackie Prices, the John Coons. I can go on and on and on, and those guys are good cook. And you can put a rock in front of them. They'll put a little dirt on it, put a little salt and pepper, and somehow tenderize it and cook it and serve it, and you're gonna like it.
Yeah, it's good. But do you think those guys, the top tier fellas, do you think that they would be down to do something different? What I'm asking is, do they feel the same way that you feel that made you so strongly felt that you put that essay out there to saying, we're messing up, y'all. That we're going down the wrong path. Is there enough consortium out there that could go to some organizers that could find a group, whether it be KCBS, IBCA, the FBA, that we say, let's change this. Let's do away with it. Let's find another model to use at these contests.
Well, look at it. It's proven on a long-running show called Chopped. Everybody knows it, and I think half of us are scared if we ever auditioned and got on it because it's just the thrill of thinking outside the box. If you equal the playing field, everything in that basket is the same for all 3 or 4 competitors. They turn and they run and they figure out how to put these different spices and rubs and whatever it is to profile that and separate them. That's a cooking skill. To say, I know what this guy's injecting or rubbing with and stick it and do it and turn it in and say, well, I hope I hit the right table. That's not a cooking skill. That's not thinking. That's just paying to go to a class or something. Or
yeah,
I don't know, but I've done it. That's why I'm saying I've paid to go to classes and come home and try to use it and go, well, this is easy, and still hit middle of the pack. So it's a skill. Those top tier people, I'm telling you, those top tier people that are winning and finishing in the top 5, and you know all of them just like I do, they have the talent and the ability to turn.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Those guys in the National Barbecue League, they put together the best. They are the best. Russ, I'm convinced those guys in that they are the best cooks. I mean, they have won all over this nation, and what they're trying to do, I admire what they're trying to do because they're trying to bring barbecue to the forefront. Those would be the guys that I would approach to say, let's change this. Because you know what? I bet they want to. I bet they're tired of doing the same thing every weekend, turning in a pork butt that doesn't look like a pork butt, turning in a brisket that doesn't look like a brisket. Cooking they take a brisket that's this and this, and it's down perfect, and they cook it. Maybe do a contest says, all right, you got to do the whole packer. You can't take it out of the middle. You got to do it this way. And even, is there a way that we could even the playing field at a contest? Sort of something like like what the guinea pigs do. And you can explain for the audience what a guinea pig is too.
Well, the guinea pig is everything's provided. I don't know enough about the back room. Can they bring their own sausage rubs, injections, and all that? But I do know the meats provided. They cook on the same similar type cooker. I think everybody at one point or time would love to do that. But here's my point about that. We've talked about the talent of these cooks. I'm talking about everybody that signs up for a competition is a cook, and they have the talent. What would we do to the judges? That's the $1 million question, to let them know, guys, everybody that is turning in today is using the same ingredients, the same rubs. They have the ability to use all these flavors, mix and match however they want, but they all have the ability to do that, and they all use one sauce. Well, they're going to go, well, I'm interested to see what this is going to taste like.
That's where I'm heading, Russ. I think that would excite the base of the judges so much they would say, finally, something different. Because these people that judge, they are barbecue aficionados. They'll eat at barbecue contests but when they go out to eat, they eat at barbecue. They eat at barbecue restaurants. They know where the good places are, where the bad places are. They're knowledgeable people. A lot of them are. But don't you think that as a judge that would say, wow, you mean Russ, Steve, and Greg, and Doug, and David, and John, and Stover, you guys, here's a brisket. Well, you don't get to buy it. We're going to give it to you. Here's a brisket. All right, and over there is a pantry. And anything you want to use from that pantry, you can use. But that's all you can use. I think that would elevate the excitement of a contest and of the judges to an incredible level that it would get everybody more excited about our sport of competition barbecue.
Absolutely. Take it one step further. How do we draw a protein sponsor in, like a PFG, a Cisco, a US Food? If you go to them and say, listen, you get exclusive on everything that they cook.
Yeah.
And they're going to be more excited about that because they found out that, people are using A9s and Snake Rivers and, Japanese blah, blah, blahs or whatever, or Springer Mountain or Tyson or Purdue, whoever. They don't have a chance in that market, and they can't identify how many people are really using their product. You start spotlighting that, you're going to have more sponsorships coming in with people that will say, I'll give you X amount of dollars if I can be the exclusive.
Right. And then the people that come to the contest, because you could figure out a way to do a contest where you didn't have to cook all night. You could maybe move the turn-in times later in the day and have a contest where people could actually come watch people cook and see what we do and still have time to turn in. And then when they see, chicken provided by Tyson or whoever, Springer Mountain, whoever, they would probably go to the store and go, those guys that were cooking were using this product. I think I'll serve my family that product. Same way with a pork or a grocery chain even. Go to Publix. You go to Publix, go to Kroger's, whoever.
And go one more step further. If that product was used at a competition and the winner had pictures and how they did and all that, and they go back to a restaurant chain and said, oh, by the way, these ribs right here just won this past weekend with such and such and such and such at this event, a restaurant's going to say, well, if it's good enough for them, why don't I use them?
Well, I think, Russ, I really do think that you touched a nerve in the barbecue community. You've got a tremendous amount of followers on your Facebook page, and the way you presented it was out of sincerity, is what I'm trying to say, and it wasn't complaining. It was a wonderment of where's this road that we're heading down. I think you almost felt like this road that we're going down, we can see the wall, we can see the end of the road sign, do not enter. And I think we really need to do something as a cooperative group of people in this sport to do something that changes the course. And we need to get the leadership to go along, the big names, and I believe if we get them to go along with it, then it will spread, from to the southeast, to the southwest, California, and we'll have maybe an entirely different way of doing contest and cooking that makes it as enjoyable, but also maybe makes it more inviting for other people to come back.
Well, let me say this, and this is heartfelt. I asked myself before I hit post, I said, who am I? Who am I to make this comment? I've never won a grand. I've had several 180s. I've had some calls, but I've never put it together. I've never walked on that platform that most people before me and that I'm against. But this is who I am. I'm a guy that goes out here every week, and I give it 100%. I show up on Thursday, and I take my family, and I buy the best meats, and I support all the sponsors, and I try the products. That's who I am, and that's the next guy that's going to fill my shoes when I stop, or the next two that's coming on. If we can figure out a way that everybody feels they have a shot at this, and we bring them up through the ranks, and we do it the way it's supposed to be, or the old school, maybe it's time to go back and put the brakes on and say, let's get a tune-up.
I think you're right, Russ. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend with us here on the Owl's Nest BBQ Show. It was a great post. Russ Lannom on Facebook. If you didn't see it, you can go to his page and read it. You can friend him in if you want to comment on it. But it was a heartfelt post. It wasn't a whiny post. It was a very, I think, an educated post. And the thread that it did provide, Russ, they had a lot of great ideas on it. And I think we need to start looking at things in the barbecue competition world like this, and maybe some things that are coming up that maybe we can adjust and make this thing a little bit more interesting. I really do think that.
Hey, you're doing a great service to this sport, and Steve, appreciate you, and thank you so much for having me on.
All right, Russ, we'll see you down the road, man. Thank you so much. And let's see. Let's go over here. Let's find that cursor. I've got two computers. There it is right there. See you, Russ. Hit that button right there. Russ will go away. And there he is right there. Hey, everybody, let me tell you real quick, the Backyard Barbecue Greatness is just a few hours away with the classic pit barrel cooker. This vessel is only $2.99 and comes with everything you need to start your barbecue. Assembles in less than 2 minutes. The pit barrel cooker makes great barbecue easy. I've got one. I know. You'll love the unique meat hanging system that ends up being the best barbecue on the block. You can get your pit barrel cooker at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply in a little while right here. All the accessories are in stock too. And of course, I'll always be happy to show you how to light one and how easy it is to use the pit barrel cooker. We've got to go. Don't forget, mark your calendars for September the 14th, the blue and the gray barbecue contest in conjunction with the Gordon Lee Mansion, Friends of the Gordon Lee Mansion Days. down in Chickamauga on September the 14th. It's a fun day. Come on down. There will be people down there vending barbecue, vending hamburgers and hot dogs. There'll be people dressing up in period clothing, and it's a fun time, and you will absolutely love it. Until next Wednesday, this is Steve Ray saying the reason we do this every Wednesday is because nobody ever said, why don't you come over to the house and fondue? We'll see you next Wednesday.
Everything gonna be all right this morning. Oh yeah. Now when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive.